Hey guys, welcome back to my show. In today's episode, we'll be talking about what a tragic hero is, and we'll also be talking about a few examples on what actually shows how tragic heroes behave and act. So let's get into it. So a tragic hero is a character who is very serious, who always like if you understand the word tragic, you will know that tragic is something very sad and upsetting. Like maybe something tragic would be someone falls off a cliff. That's a tragic accident or a tragic way for someone to die. um Now, in terms of a tragic character or tragic hero, what I mean is a tragic hero is a character with abilities like a regular hero, but they also have human flaws, which is natural for every person who's a human or an animal. Everyone has flaws in them, and these flaws could be something that could be like arrogance, self, basically negative values or flaws which they have, which make them the tragic hero, because they are a hero but they also have certain beliefs or certain flaws in them which make them kind of hard to like. So some things could be like how I said earlier, it could just be them being super arrogant or super rude, and then ends up making them lose their life or someone else's life through those things they do. So tragic hero, in towards the end, I guess you could say that the main takeaway basically is that tragic heroes are heroes who save people, but at some point they may also hurt themselves or others in the process due to their own flaws. Now, the tragic hero has different things. Now, based on my research I've done, there are about 5 types of tragic heroes, which basically are in Greek. So there is there are actually 5, but we're going to be talking about just 2 of them, just to kind of get a brief idea on how this works. So hamartia is the character's fatal flaw, and hubris is arrogance. So if your character has hubris, it's full of arrogance and pride, very egoistic. Whereas if it is hamartia, it just has a fatal flaw, which just means that they just have flaws, nothing else. Now those flaws can be anything, could be arrogance, it could be anything. So do not get confused between hubris and hamartia, because they both are 2 different things, even though they both include arrogance at some point. The other thing I would like to say is most tragic heroes, they are usually pretty good characters. Like they're amazing, smart, all of that. They have every single quality for a hero. But the only thing which sets them apart from a regular hero is their flaws. Again, the main emphasis over here is the flaws. Now, for people who don't really understand what exactly flaws consist of, again, as I said earlier, it's mainly like things which they do not do well. Like their flaws could be they tend to scream when they're upset, or they tend to roll their eyes when they're irritated, or the flaw could be that they do not like to listen to others, they are very self-centered. That's a flaw. So basically a flaw is something that's not great about them, something they have to work on to improve their character. So things like that. Also, not just that, again, as a kind of like a regular hero, there's someone who readers love, readers care about, and want to know more about. In fact, the audience loves to know more about the character when they're tragic, because they want to understand how the mind works, how the flaws are stopping them from achieving their goals. So that's really important when it comes to that. Their downfall is mostly because of themselves, their flaws, their misbeliefs, and all of those things. That's mainly why they fail. It's never really because of a certain person or a certain thing. It's just because of themselves, which they tend to blame on other people at times. Um, the last thing is they do not always get like a good ending to the stories, and it's not like a regular hero who normally, depending on what kind of book you're reading, has happy endings like fairy tales and stuff, right? So most tragic heroes do not get fairy tale endings since they're pretty different. Now, if you're gonna try writing a great tragic hero, you will have to follow a few things. Make sure the flaw you're creating is unique enough. Now, the flaws have been talking about, the arrogance, self-centeredness, all of that stuff, that's just basic things. Now, if you want a proper flaw which readers can connect to or audience can connect to, you need to make sure it's something very unique, yet something that is a common flaw in regular human beings. But that also means that if your tragic hero is an animal or some other creature, you made it up like a magical creature or something, it still applies to them. Like, they may not be human, but you still need to try and give them a flaw which humans can connect to or us readers can connect to. Um, you need to also make sure that your flaws are aligning or in connection to your story. You do not want to add some kind of flaw which is not really related. So if your story is about a gardening book, right? A gardening book would not have a tragic hero who doesn't like vegetables, because if they're working in a garden, working in a vegetable patch, they would need to like vegetables to do that, won't they? Now, of course, that doesn't mean that you cannot do that. There's no that compulsion or anything. But I would suggest like scanning through your book, story, poem, whatever you're writing, to see where you need a tragic hero. Because too many tragic heroes are also not too good. So you should try limiting yourself to 1 to 2 tragic heroes. One really important thing is make sure that your character has some kind of beginning spot where like you get to know about who they are, why they're here in your story, why do they matter? Why do they matter to your reader? Why should your reader care about this character? So you need to set that in the start itself on like why do you think they should like love your character? Why do you think they should root for your character? So yeah, some really great examples of tragic heroes would be, okay, for people who love Shakespeare, this one is for you guys. If you guys have read Macbeth from Shakespeare's Macbeth, it's about Macbeth, who is a brave and royal general who serves King Duncan. Okay, his fatal flaw is not like he tries too hard. He wants to achieve every single thing he puts forward for himself and ends up doing severe things like rash decisions, and eventually he just like ends up in a very bad situation. Now, of course, I'm talking riddles here right now because I do not want to give away the story and I don't want to give any spoilers, obviously, because I want you guys to read this book for yourselves if you like classic books like those. Um, so yeah, that's one example. This is another example. If you guys have seen a Game of Thrones, you will know that Eddard Stark was also a tragic hero since he was a great character, a great hero, but his fatal flaw was that he would not do anything unless he was given credit for it or unless he could get something for it in return. So, for example, if he's gonna save a rabbit, he need to have some kind of award, some kind of thing that he gets from saving that creature, something like that. He also would not like to he would not like to do anything because he just couldn't adapt to his environment. He could not achieve things out of his comfort zone because he just could not adapt to new things. Now, again, for him, his story didn't end up well either. He ended up in a bad spot as well, since he just cared about winning things and doing things like that, and he never really cared about helping people, even though he was a hero. But at the same time, he was a great hero, though. He may not have had the best intentions for being a hero, but he still was a great hero. And yeah, again, Game of Thrones is an amazing book as well. If you guys are interested, you can definitely read that. So yeah, that's pretty much the end of the episode. Before I end, I would just like to announce on Monday, I have a really special guest who's gonna be there. I'm not gonna tell you much about who she's gonna be, but I'm gonna give you a couple of guesses, like a couple of hints on who she could be, so you guys can guess and maybe think about who she could be. Now, I keep saying she, which gives you a hint that it's a girl, right, or a lady. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you guys this brief thing about her, and you guys can try to figure out who this person can be. Of course, you guys do not have to do this if you don't want to. You can just directly come on onto the show and listen to the episode when it releases. But if you guys are like me and cannot wait to reveal things, then well, I would suggest that you guys try to figure it out. Okay, so this guest, the special guest, is the executive producer of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. She is also an author of like this kind of like a magical series. Now, I'm not going to tell you the series name because that'll give it away. But not only she the executive producer of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, she is also the story editor on MTV's The Real World season 2. She's also known for Beetleborgs. She was the writer for that. She was Snoop Dogg's producer, and she was under one producer as well in 2002. She also was like part of like the not was she is part of the what you call the long-time reality TV producer area. So she's into writing as well as TV producing. Yeah, so that's pretty much it about her. I'm not going to tell you about her name, but I think I've given you enough detail for you guys to look around and find out who she could be. Now, another thing I'll be doing is I'm going to be adding like a question thing on to this episode. So when you guys open this episode, try, if possible, try listening to this episode in the Spotify mobile app, so that you can answer the questionnaire and answer who you think it is. But of course, if you do not use Spotify or do not want to do it on your phone, that's completely alright. You will find out soon enough who the mystery guest is. Anyway, guys, that's the end of the episode. I hope you had fun and look forward to the special guest I'm going to be having on Monday. And yeah, so that's the end of the episode. I hope you enjoyed. Have a great day, guys. Keep reading, keep writing.